Hi guys, so we're talking about personal narratives, okay? Remember, we said a personal narrative is a story about your own personal experience. It's a true story of something that happened to you. And it tells the story from the I point of view, which means it uses words like I, me, my, and mine. It's called I point of view, okay? Remember that there should be an interesting beginning, middle, and end. Of course, you're going to tell what actually happened, but you can tell it in a way that makes your readers want to read what you are writing. And we use time order words to connect the events together. Okay? All right, let's take a look at this personal narrative. Okay? This personal narrative, sorry, I cut her face off. I didn't mean to. This personal narrative is from a magazine called Child Times, and it's written by Eloise Greenfield. Okay, this is Eloise. This is a story about Eloise when she was in grade 5. Okay, I'm going to read it and then we'll talk about it. When I was in the 5th grade, I was famous for a whole day, and all because of a play. The teacher had given me a big part, and I didn't want it. I like to be in plays where I could be a part of a group, like being one of the talking trees, or dancing or singing in the glee club, but having to talk by myself, she had trouble when it was time to talk alone. She liked to be in a group, but not by herself. I used to slide down in my chair and stare at my desk while the teacher was giving out the parts, so she wouldn't pay any attention to me. But this time, it didn't work. She called on me anyway. I told her I didn't want to do it, but she said I had to. I guess she thought it would be good for me. She tried to keep her teacher from calling on her by slouching down in her desk, but teacher called on her anyway. On the day of the play, I didn't make any mistakes. I remembered all of my lines. Only nobody in the audience could hear me. I couldn't make my voice come out loud. For the rest of the day, I was famous. Children passing by my classroom door, children on the playground at lunchtime, kept pointing at me and saying, "That's the girl. That's the one who didn't talk loud enough." Okay, so she wasn't famous for being good in the play. She was famous for not raising her voice. Okay? So she starts by telling us what happens in the beginning, how she feels about plays. She tells us how she hid in her chair and tried to keep her teacher from calling on her, how her teacher called on her anyway, and how she did well and remembered all of her lines, but she did not raise her voice enough. So she has a beginning, a middle, and an end to her story. She also tells you how she felt, how she was shy being on stage alone, how she didn't have any problems. She liked actually to be in the group and to be a part of a group of actors working together, but not to do things alone. All right? She also talked about how she was famous the rest of the day for not being the girl who was able to talk loud enough. So she probably felt pretty embarrassed that she was the one that couldn't raise her voice. Okay? All right, let's move on. Our next personal narrative is by a boy in grade 4, just like you. His name is Jeff Andrews. Misty and me. I'll never forget the day my cat Misty had kittens. Cats like to have a warm, private place to have their kittens. So my dad and I made a bed out of a large basket and an old baby blanket. We put it in my closet and left the door open a little. After that, we left to do an errand. Okay, so they left the basket in the closet so that the cat could go inside and have her kittens while they were gone. When we got back, we couldn't find Misty. I was very worried. I looked all over the house. Then I searched the garage, but she was nowhere to be found. I was in the yard when I spotted her. She just appeared from the woods behind our house. In her mouth, she was carrying a tiny, new kitten. She had had her kittens outside. When I thought more about it, I wasn't too surprised. Misty, had always been very independent. Alright, so he tells the story of his cat and how she's going to have kittens and how they prepared for her in the beginning by putting the basket, how they couldn't find the cat when they came back, how the cat appeared and had her kittens. Okay? So there's a beginning, a middle, and an end to his story. He also tells us how he felt. He talks about how he was worried about Misty when he couldn't find her. Okay? Remember, as a writer, when you're doing a personal narrative, interesting beginning, middle, and end, and don't forget to tell how you felt when the event happened. Alright? Now, we're going to write a personal narrative together. Okay? So I have a list of events that happened, that I have put them in order, and we're going to do an example together. So you need to write this on page 17B in your Language Arts Practice Book. 17B in the Language Arts Practice Book. You have a chart just like this with 8 lines, okay? So you need to add these notes for our example of a personal narrative. This is the first example that we're going to do together as a class. Alright? We also completed in class today 17A. Page 17A. Okay? So you'll need to do that as well. Alright? Now, let's take a look at these events. Each year, 4th graders participate in the town-wide science fair. We thought about what we wanted to learn about. We went to the library to do research. We decided to do an experiment about decay. Everyone participated and contributed to our display. The work that we did was hard, but we had fun doing it. We presented our topics at the science fair, and we won 2nd place. Alright? So, we're going to take these sentences, we're going to put them together. Some of them are not complete sentences. See here, we don't have a subject. We're going to add that as we write our sentences together. Missing here a subject also. Remember, when we make notes, we don't have to write complete sentences. Okay? We're going to take these sentences, put them into paragraph form, and we're going to write our paper. Alright? You will see the paper posted on Smart Schools where we put the sentences together for our personal narrative. Okay? I'm just going to take the sentences from my chart and put them in paragraph form. Alright? This is our first example of a personal narrative. Okay? See you in the next video. Don't forget to look for the document next to the video that has the personal narrative example written in paragraph form. Bye-bye.